My talk title this morning is In God's Sight, and we're concluding the series of the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook today. And this chapter that we're going over, how to use it, how to use spirit, how to use this power of creation in your life. Because in these chapters, he says that's ultimately what's going to make you happy. To know that you have this power for good that you can direct to create the life of dreams. This is what will make you satisfied. This is what will relieve you of those insecurities, those worries, those fears. Now, I think our teaching got off onto the wrong track because at one point we decided that we would teach people how to do affirmative prayer, and the focus was to pray for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. Certainly, if you're out and about and you need a parking space, pray for a good parking space. If you need a job, pray for a job or a partner, whatever. It's great to pray for yourself, but also it's important to pray for others. Jesus stepped into his power when he prayed for others. He was at a wedding banquet when he stepped into his power to pray for others. He almost never prayed for himself. We step into our power, I believe, when we pray for others. Now, I was happened to be listening to a Christian text this week, and the minister was talking about the Beatitudes. And he happened was a scholar, and he happened to say that he felt this was when Jesus transferred over to being the man to becoming the Christ, the anointed one, because the Beatitudes are really beautiful. And they list a whole series of how we can be blessed. It's interesting that the earliest scriptures only have those statements, that blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the merciful, blessed are those that thirst for righteousness. In the later scriptures that were written later, more further removed from the life of Christ, they added more things on. It kind of like they went from original recipe to extra crispy. They added stuff. And the stuff that they added are the woe to you. They go, blessed are you, and woe to you. I don't believe Jesus said that. I believe Jesus inspired and encouraged. I think he had more intelligence to know. I think the woes, that came later. That came from the fundraisers and the bureaucrats. Very wise person I knew, he said, all spirituality starts out as poetry. And then the bureaucrats and the fundraisers get a hold to it because they know they can raise a lot of money out of fear, and it's easy to control people with it. So we want to go back to the original, the blessings. Now, the one that I'm focused on this morning is the 5th one, and it's, blessed are the pure of heart, for they will see God. Now, it doesn't sound so revolutionary to us today in modern terms, but at the time, in the time of Christ, that was exceedingly revolutionary. It was, in fact, heretical to say that average people could see God. Only the high priest could see God. And even he couldn't really see God because the Jewish people thought if you ever saw God, you would immediately die. So the high priest was the only one that interacted with God. And at this time, the Jewish people believed God actually resided in the holiest of holies over the Ark of Covenant. And once a year, the high priest would crawl backwards in underneath this great drapery, so he could do a ceremony in front of the Ark of the Covenant. But even then, he would use an incenser to keep a cloud of incense between him and the Ark. So for Jesus to say that we could all see God, this was revolutionary. This was revolutionary, and them saying that we can do something for ourselves. We can become pure of heart. And when we're in that state of consciousness, we can see God. And for me, being pure of heart just means that we haven't allowed the toxicity and the negativity of the world to color our hearts and souls. Now, I know for a lot of people, the thought of seeing God seems a little bit too ambitious. But here's a way to get around that. If you think it's too high for you to see God, just add an extra vowel to God and say, see good. One extra vowel, that's all it is. And when you're seeing good, you're seeing God. You're seeing God. So those that are pure in heart will see God in everything and everyone. That's how Pope Francis interpreted that beatitude. To see God in good and everything and everyone. Well, of course, that's easy to do when you're looking at something that encourages and inspires you. It's a little bit more difficult to do if you're looking at something that's negative or life-draining. You may not have heard this story, but it kind of broke the internet. Last week, the character from Sesame Street, Elmo, on his social media asked how people were doing. And he got a tsunami of replies that people are in a lot of turmoil. People are struggling. They're going through a lot of stuff. And it is true, we live in stressful times. Life is challenging. Our teaching never says to you that you can live a life without problems. We just tell you, here's a toolbox of suggestions that if you will use, will help you get through any challenge. And of course, our first toolbox is affirmative prayer and meditation and learning. And I will throw in one thing that I think is essential now more than ever, and that is community. Having a group of people around you who support and encourage and know the best for you. This is how we can get through challenge. It's easy to think that our personal challenges are harder than everybody else's, or that we're going through times that are more challenging than anyone else's. But I'm very much like I think the Tale of Two Cities, the opening of the Tale of Two Cities is probably as accurate as anything. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times. I think that probably can pretty much describe any generation. It just depends where are you at with it? What are you looking with and what are you looking for? And what do you think you're going to find out in the world? Are you thinking you're going to find support and love and encouragement? Or you think it's another day and just more turmoil, more pain, more grief? I generally take our dog, the Sheltie, out for a walk each day, or I try to. And last week, when it was really bitter cold, I was taking her out. Now, she has a fur coat on, so the cold doesn't bother her any. And I walked by a neighbor, and I happened to speak to the neighbor. I said, "How are you doing?" And she says, "Oh, my goodness, this cold, it gets in my knees, it's in my back, and you just want to stay in bed." Well, hurry back inside, and we'll see you later. So last week, Thursday it was, when it was so pretty out, I walked out, I saw her again. I thought, well, gosh, she's got to be in a better mood. And I hollered out, and I said, "I know you're enjoying all this great weather. It's 80 degrees, you're enjoying it." She looked, "Are you mad? Are you crazy? To go from 40 degrees to 80 degrees in just a week, we're all going to have pneumonia by the weekend." Yeah. And if this doesn't kill you, look at all this pollen. It's just attacking us everywhere. You see what she had done? She traded one problem in for two problems. That's not a winning game. That's not a winning strategy. Yeah. Keep that attitude up. And you know what you do pretty quickly. It won't take too long. You'll run everybody fun and positive away from your life. You really will. And the people that you'll find surrounding you are only the negative, the naysayers, the doomist, who will support your negativity, encourage your negativity. That's all you have. And it won't take very long before you have to tie a pork chop around your neck to get a dog to play with you. Yeah. Look for the good. Encourage the good. Spot it. It will empower you. Now, you can, sure enough, pollen was heavy last week. You can go out and say, oh, this pollen's going to aggravate my allergies. Or you can look at that same pollen and say, okay, there's pollen out there, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with my allergies, maybe use my saline spray a little bit more, not ride when the windows open. But boy, all this pollen is a welcome mat to the beautiful spring we've got coming. Yeah. That's what that's telling me. You keep that attitude up, and then you've set yourself up for a beautiful spring. And even if the pollen does get to your allergies, it won't be as bad as if you had the attitude, this pollen's out to kill me. You have the attitude, this pollen's out to kill me, then when the infection comes or the irritation comes, it will be worse. And guess what? You've already suffered with the idea from the first time you spotted the pollen. You've already suffered with it. It just took it a while to catch up to you. So we want to look out on the world and say, goodness is coming our way. Blessings are coming our way. To see them for ourselves and to recognize them from everyone else. To see everyone around us as wonderful signs of God's blessings flowing to us. I heard a story this week about a young man, and he had lost his partner. He wanted somebody in his life. And so what he did is he wrote down this whole list of things he wanted to find in a new partner. And then he said he would go out in the community. And when he would see couples holding hands, he wouldn't feel bad about not having a partner. He would say, that's a sign. There's love in the world, and it's coming to me. He turned the negative to the positive. And when we do that, we're in a place of great power. We're in a place where we're turning water into wine. We're in a place where we're performing miracles right before our eyes. And when you do that, you don't know what great blessings you will bring to life. When you stay on that vibration of turmoil, you'll just get more turmoil. When you're on that vibrations of blessings and goodness and love and compassion, there's a line from a gospel song Aretha Franklin sings. She says, in the stillness of the midnight, sacred secrets will unfold. In the stillness of the midnight, we'll know we have a power for good. We'll know that God is with us. We'll know that we're not on our own, that we have this wonderful energy attracting love and attracting compassion. And you don't have to be worried about no man and no thing. You can know that you're supported. Dr. Holmes says you can look at a lie and know the truth. Know the truth. I have a dear friend, a very, very dear friend, and she's facing lots of challenges, lots of health issues. And she sends out emails to let us know where she is on her journey. And this past week, she's been in a test study because that's where she's at with it. And she wrote in her email, she said it had started off as a horrible week. She said she was in pain they couldn't control. She had gone to the doctor and had gotten not a good doctor's report, and she didn't really like the doctor that she was going to. And she had surgery the next day, and all through the night, they couldn't get her out of pain. She was just suffering. She didn't get out of pain until she went into the operating room. And she said, but when she had the anesthesia, she said a miracle occurred. When she woke up from the anesthesia, a miracle occurred. She said, I woke up with love for all of life, including the doctor who had been so negative and mean. She said, I had an overwhelming feeling of love for every single care worker that crossed my path. She said, I didn't even have the slightest annoyance towards the doctor. She said, all I could feel was this huge wave of gratitude for every single worker that had showed up to help me out. She said, they were all there for me. She said, how could I not cry a river of tears to receive this love and this care and this giving. She said, I'm humbled by love. How fortunate I am. And she said, here's the thing to know with 100% certainty. If any of you end up in this place, you too will get it. You too will be showered with love and care. We have this amazing capacity to give and to receive. I'm humbled and grateful to understand this truth. I'm humbled and grateful to have this friend in my life, to be going through this challenge and to still be able to say, I am a fount of love. I've risen above my problems. I'm willing to give compassion and love and support and encouragement to all those people around me, even when I am in pain. This is what Christ did on the cross. On the cross, they had nailed him to wood. But the thief next to him cried out in suffering. And he said, this day you'll be with me in heaven. Didn't say this day after I've heard all your sins. He didn't say this day after you've been washed in my blood. He said, this day you'll be with me in heaven. And when we step into that place of compassion, when we step into that place of power, when we step into that place where we are a conduit for God's love, we can be like our dear friends. We can become enlightenment. We can know that there is not a problem that the world can't throw at us that we cannot overcome. There's not confusion in our political system. There's not wars around the world. There is not suffering that we can't rise up and be a solution for. And the solution is that we are empowered. The solution is we're children of the Most High. The solution is to know we haven't come here to suffer and lack and limitation and victimhood. We're here to rise up, to speak out, to proclaim the truth that we're conduits of God's love, of God's joy, and God's prosperity. Right where we are, that there's a land of milk and honey that waits before us. We're on the move and we are not turning back. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is.